Big party yesterday as the U.S. Supreme Court slammed down Jenna Griswold in her efforts to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. Part of the team fighting that was Dave Williams, who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. I was personally very happy to support the effort of the Colorado Republican Party to defend Donald Trump and his ability to remain on the ballot. And joining us on the VIP line is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, Dave Williams. Dave, congratulations. Big victory yesterday.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much. I think victory really belongs to the voters who get to vote for the candidate of their choice. That was our main concern going into it. We obviously wanted to help President Trump remain on the ballot, but from the party's perspective, we were most concerned about ensuring that we could nominate whoever we wanted to nominate, not only in 2024, but beyond.
And within, just a few hours, you guys are hinting at a recall of Jenna Griswold. Give us a little insight into that. We read the letter on the air earlier in the day, but what are y'all's plans? What's the thinking? What's the strategy behind recalling Jenna Griswold at this point?
Yeah, you bet. Jenna Griswold is, obviously, as you guys know, is the most hyper-partisan political hack that has ever run that office. And she's compromised, she's crooked, and we simply can't have her overseeing elections as the chief election official in Colorado. So we're working with Lauren Boebert to make this a big issue, not only in the state, but across the country. We're looking to mobilize voters, we're looking to mobilize donors who want to inject honest people and integrity back into that office, and we simply can't have that with the current occupant. Jenna is a disgrace for trying to steal your votes. She's a disgrace for trying to upend free and fair elections. And I don't care how many times she talks about how she wants to save democracy by ending it. She's unfit, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get rid of her. And so, yeah, that does include a recall. But we're right now in the planning phase, and we'll have more specifics to roll out as the weeks unfold.
Now, Dave, let's assume that the recall is successful. What, if anything, could be gained with removing her? Because don't the Democrats just get to put somebody back in there? Is it necessarily going to be better if she's recalled?
We think on the whole it will be better. The reason we're interested in doing this is because we have to start holding these guys accountable, regardless if a Democrat gets in there or not. It is a recall, so we should theoretically have a shot at getting a Republican in there. But at a bare minimum, the fact that she would do what she did, I think is grounds enough to just get her out of there. And if nothing else, if we're successful in getting her out, but a Democrat gets back in there, it at least will send a signal that, hey, you're a partisan Democrat, but you need to be above board. You don't get to remove people. You don't get to remove people off the ballot because you disagree with them politically. And that's the message we want to send.
All right, I want to dive into some of the questions we're getting from folks here that are listeners of 710 KNUS. We'll start with kind of your leadership of the party, and then I want to get into the race you're running for Congressional District 5 as well. Can you give folks an update on how the fundraising for the state party is going?
Yeah, it's going very well. We are on pace to certainly fundraise more than what we saw 2 years ago with Christy Burton Brown. We're on pace to keep up, I think, historically with what you've seen from Ken Buck. So our goal is to get about another $1 million into the coffers and deploy that into the field. This past month, we increased not just past month, but past few months, we've increased the number of small dollar donors that we've seen by a couple thousand. So we're growing the party, and that's good news for everyone. And I think it signals an excitement that we haven't seen in a while. I think people are really fed up with the Democrats and Joe Biden, and they're coming our way because they want to restore balance back to our state.
Let's talk about your analysis of how the November race is looking from your perspective. Colorado seems to have struggled definitely in the past with, presidential elections and even some statewide elections. Do you see things changing? Is President Trump going to visit Colorado? does it look like he's going to win? How about local races? As the state party chairman, give us a 50,000-foot view of the state of this upcoming November's race and how the Republican Party is doing.
Yeah, you bet. First and foremost, the good news is that we are in a position to make gains in Colorado. I don't think anyone here is going to think that we're going to get majorities, although we would love those. But we do think we're going to make gains. We do think we're going to make some gains in the state house and the state senate. And we have some targeted races that we're currently focused on, as well as trying to recruit a few last-minute additions to the race. So if anyone wants to run for political office, especially in competitive seats, please reach out to the party so that we can get you onboarded immediately. But with that said, I think what you're going to see is we're going to win or retain, rather, CD3. We're on track to defeating Congresswoman Caraveo in CD8. And what a lot of people don't know about that race, because it's not getting a lot of attention, but it will, is that Caraveo served in the state house. She's one of the big reasons why you're seeing property tax increases and an increase in crime and illegal immigration. But a lot of people don't really remember that. They're kind of focused on her federal level actions. And so we're going to remind the voters about that as well. But I think what you're going to see are Democrats losing a lot of what they've gained over the years. And the proof of that is how crazy they're acting in the legislature right now. They're not negotiating. They're not being reasonable. They're silencing dissent. And that's a sign that they know they're going to lose a lot of seats. So they're trying to pass whatever they can as quickly as they can.
One of the things I would love to see is Donald Trump visit Colorado. In 2016, he did more than he did in 2020. Are you working directly with the campaign? Can we expect some rallies in the state of Colorado with Donald Trump?
We're currently putting those requests in. I think there's a very good chance that he's going to stop by here. The fact that they hired a state director and are putting resources into the state shows that Donald Trump has not written it off. There's a number of public polls and other internal polls that I can't get into, but the public ones are showing that Donald Trump is gaining ground. And when you compare some of those polls that show him, behind Biden by 7 points, if you will, that's a lot better than what we ultimately saw in 2022 when our gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl lost by about 20 points, or Joe O'Dea lost by about 15. So that's just a testament to how bad Joe Biden is and how Coloradans are waking up and want change. So we are working with them. We're going to try and get them here, and I think there's a good chance we will.
One of the places that Donald Trump has struggled with are college-educated suburban white women, which makes up, a pretty significant chunk of the voting bloc in Jefferson County, Arapahoe County, and even Douglas County. As the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, what's your message to that voting bloc?
Yeah, well, I think the message is simple. It's not all that dissimilar from anything else that we're telling folks. Are you better off now than you were when Donald Trump was in the White House? The answer is no. I understand some people may not like the mean tweets that came out under his leadership, but they sure as heck love the $1.50 gas and the eggs that weren't, skyrocketing in the grocery store along with bread or milk or any of that stuff.
Now, Dave, when we talk about the economy, though, the $1.50 gas was because of the pandemic. We had $25 gallon barrel of oil. That's not something we would want to return to in any way, shape, or form, and that's the only functional way to get to $1.25 gas. So the larger question is, what economic policies or changes will Trump make that will solve the issues that you just laid out?
Well, there's a lot of things that he'll do. I mean, one of the best things that Donald Trump did was passing legislation with Congress that made it easier for you to keep more of your own money. There was a great tax bill that was passed, or tax cut bill that he passed. And I think you're going to see similar policies like that. I think what you're also going to see from President Trump is a return to sound fiscal policy, where folks are not going to have to worry about an out of control government spending well beyond its means. Yeah, there was
but we got to stop there for a sec, because we got to stop there because you're talking about an out of control government spending beyond its means. But that tax cut that you just trumpeted was one of the largest increases in our national debt ever. And if we lean into that, what you're saying is that a Donald Trump second presidency is going to explode the debt, because you just trumpeted the idea of putting more money based on that tax cut. It didn't pay for itself at all. So is that what we're saying? That a second Trump presidency will maybe lower your taxes, but is also going to dramatically increase the debt?
No, I'm not at all. I don't. They're not mutually exclusive. Just because you lower taxes doesn't mean that spending necessarily has to go up. And what I think you're seeing from
But Dave, hang on. Functionally, Dave, wait, hang on. Functionally, it's wrong. If you lower taxes, you're lowering revenue. So debt goes up because you already have written those checks. You're already paying for those programs. If you lower the income, the idea being, if your mortgage, your insurance, your gas bill, your food bill stays the same, but you lower the amount of money coming into your household income, you operate at a larger deficit. That's what happened under Trump.
No. That's if spending remains high. There's two parts to the equation. It's not just revenue, but it's also spending. I think what you're seeing is a commitment from not only the Trump campaign, but also Republican congressional leaders to get a handle on this inflationary spending. And that's the other part of the equation that I think you're going to see get better.
They didn't do that last time. They had the opportunity. They had both houses for 2 years. They didn't constrain spending at all. So what indication do we have that that would be anything they want to do?
Well, they had a lot of challenges that they were facing at the time. One of the reasons you saw skyrocketing spending was also because of the pandemic and the government lockdowns. We're not facing those kind of challenges anymore. But here's the truth. If you don't make the change, then you're definitely going to see way more spending with Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Yeah, but lowering the taxes and lowering the revenue isn't going to help. That won't help us pay off the deficit.
Yes, it will. It absolutely will.
I have seen plenty of times where lowering taxes has actually brought in more revenue.
That only functions in a very finite area of the Laffer curve, and the Laffer curve functionally mathematically doesn't hold as being a truism, because on the ends of the curve, mathematically it doesn't hold anymore. So it does not statistically meet the rigors of being an actual mathematical formula. It works within a finite window at the top of the curve. Outside of that finite window, it's bogus.
I don't know. I think if you unleash business, you end up with more revenue. We're talking with Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. He's also a candidate for CD5. All right, let's change over to Congressman Dave Williams, candidate for CD5. As I said, you are, give us the pitch. Why are you the better candidate than everybody else in the race to represent Congressional District 5?
Because we have politicians who say one thing and do another. And a lot of these guys who go to Washington or have worked in Washington aren't really interested in working for the American people. They're interested in themselves. We have a national debt of $34 trillion plus another $100+ trillion in unfunded liabilities. We have folks that are helping special interest groups raid the taxpayer coffers to retain power unto themselves. We have folks who, go there not to serve the American people, but to feather their own nest. I mean, think of the insider trading that we see all the time with congressional leaders who go into Congress not worth a nickel, but then they go out or they're about to retire and they're worth millions because they've profited off of information that's not publicly available to
Dave,
others.
I love that idea. I love that because I think what you've accurately pointed out is that, isn't it amazing how regardless of party affiliation, all of a sudden when someone enters Congress, they become a trading genius? It's a really weird thing. I have no idea why, given the fact that maybe they get information before the rest of us, that they always seem to beat the market. And this is universal. I love the idea of restricting trades based on our congressional members' representation, because again, those people, to the idea of thinking that fundamentally a human would take their financial motivations out of their vote, especially when they stand to make a lot of money. We're fooling each other with that one. I love that idea. Thank you.
Right. I mean, the bottom line is that we need people who are actually going to serve the American people and not themselves. Yeah. And that's the difference. That's what I'm running on. For far too long, we've had congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, who have failed the American people because they're not working for them. We need to change that. We wonder why Washington is broken, it's because we don't have enough good people who are actually going to go there and stand up to the status quo. And in fact, we have too many people that could capitulate to it. So I'm going to go there and work with President Trump and all the other America First leaders so that we can start turning the situation around and return power back to the people.
Let's talk a little bit about the critique from one of your opponents, Jeff Crank. He is not happy with the Colorado Republican Party sending out a mailer that includes pictures of him. What's your response to Jeff Crank?
I'm not surprised that a slick lobbyist like Jeff Crank, who works for Americans for Prosperity, an open border anti-Trump organization, is upset because he was exposed for supporting Nikki Haley and opposing Donald Trump. Truth is, though, that mail piece was sent out in defense of the party. It was a warning to voters not to go along with the Gazette blindly. The Gazette has been anti-Trump. Phil Anschutz, who owns the Gazette, has been anti-Trump. When I first took over the Republican Party, he sent me an email saying, hey, we need to ditch Trump. Here's an article that one of my other publications wrote you should read. Since then, they've been doing everything they can to prop up not only anti-Trump candidates, but also their agenda. And what I think is wrong about all of that is they don't disclose that. It's one thing to own a newspaper and say, hey, this is our agenda up front, but they don't do that. They're very deceptive, and they only do it because it's easier for them to manipulate politics without having to disclose it through campaign finance laws.
Let's go through a few fast responses here. Would you deport illegal immigrants from the United States?
Yes.
Would you support a federal ban on abortion?
Yes.
Would you support invoking the 25th Amendment to rid of Joe Biden based upon his incapacity, mental incapacity?
Yeah. Yes.
Would you vote to impeach Mayorkas?
Yes.
All right. Rapid response on all those. Yeses all the way down on those. We've been asking all the candidates
That's good.
Those questions. One question we're getting from a text messenger here. Can you state what cash is on hand for the Republican Party in the state of Colorado?
We're about to have that report come out in 2 weeks, but if I had to guess, we're probably at about a little over 400,000 ish, somewhere around that ballpark.
400,000. Great. Well, if you want to learn more about Dave Williams, his website is daveforcolorado.com. That's daveforcolorado.com, where you can learn about his congressional race. Of course, if you wanted to be part of what the Colorado Republican Party is doing, that's COLOGOP.org or com. I'm trying to remember. I'm pulling it up right now. Org, COLOGOP.org. As Dave Williams said, they are looking for candidates to run. And listen, I know that there's a lot of people out there, the good-hearted people that would want to see change, but they're nervous about running. Let me tell you this, okay? The people that currently lead our state, especially at the state capitol, are some of the dumbest people you would ever meet, and you would never, ever, ever hire them to walk your dog. All right. That's the bar that you're facing right now. So if you want to run for office, believe me, you can already do a much better job than just taking talking points and bills and campaign contributions from Planned Parenthood and the ACLU and the rest of them. So go to COLOGOP.org and you can contact the state party there and get involved. Look, I think there's momentum on our side. I appreciate the leadership that Dave Williams is putting into the Republican Party. We saw a victory yesterday, a win yesterday for Republicans, for basically all Coloradans. And you need a tough-minded pushback against this leftism that's taking control of the state of Colorado, people like Jenna Griswold. And when I saw that Dave Williams and Lauren Boebert were launching a recall effort, I wanted to stand up and applaud. I'm glad they're doing that. Fight them the way they fight us. That's how we have to engage the electorate in the state of Colorado. I'm glad to see that they're doing it. So consider running. You heard that from Dave Williams. Go to COLOGOP.org. If you want to know more about his congressional race, DaveForColorado.com. DaveForColorado.com. Hey, Dave, thanks for jumping on and taking the questions from our text messengers.
Jeff and Bill, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 710, KNUS.